I am in Littleton, Colorado, and this here is the grave of America's favorite cannibal, Alferd Packer. Yep, this standard federal military headstone surrounded by quite a few tributes marks the grave of one of the more controversial figures in Wild West lore. Packer was originally from Pennsylvania, then enlisted in the Army during the Civil War, but he was soon discharged due to epilepsy. After that, he went west and came to the wild territories of Colorado and Utah, where he was a prospector at goldfields, then started advertising himself as a wilderness guide. Even though he was a newcomer to the region and probably wasn't the best or most experienced guide to hire. In November of 1873, he was hired by a group of 21 prospective gold investors to go into the Rocky Mountains. Then in February of 1874, definitely not the best time of year, he set out with 5 of those prospectors to traverse the colossal San Juan Mountains. It was winter, and it was really bad, so the group got stuck in sub-zero temperatures with rapidly waning supplies. So in order to survive, Alferd Packer ate the flesh of the other 5 prospectors and made out to tell the tale. Actually, several different tales to try and cover himself. At first he claimed that the rest of them abandoned him, but that was proven untrue as the skeletons of the 5 men were found. So he did have to confess that they got lost and trapped, but claimed that the others died due to the extreme conditions, so he had to resort to cannibalism. But then he claimed that one of the prospectors went berserk and killed the others, so Packer shot him in self-defense, then ate them. In any case, he was arrested, but soon escaped from jail and was on the lam for 9 years. He was caught again and brought back here to Colorado for trial, where he was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. But Packer got a retrial and was sentenced to 40 years in prison on 5 counts of voluntary manslaughter. He was paroled after 18 years in jail and stayed here in the Denver area, where he passed away on April 23, 1907. He maintained his innocence until the end, but could never claim he wasn't a cannibal. He was rumored to have gone vegetarian before his death. Alferd Packer was provided a full military burial here at the Littleton Cemetery due to his brief Civil War service. Also notice it says Alferd Packer on the gravestone. That was technically his name, but he always went by Alferd. There are lots of rocks placed at the gravesite. That may be some petrified wood. There are some fancy coins on the grave placed by Al Packer Chapter 100. Forensic evidence of the cannibal victims' remains, which were dug up in the late 1980s, did basically prove that Packer murdered them all. Their skeletons had signs of blunt force trauma and hackings. This was Alferd Packer's gun found at the site, which he did use to shoot one dead. The bullet from this gun and the wound in the skeleton matched up. So yeah, Packer killed at least one of them, probably all of them. Clearly the gravesite is cemented over to prevent grave robbers. However, he might not all be down there. Ripley's Believe It or Not claims to have Packer's skull. I believe it is on display in one of the museums, so his skull might not be here. There is also this really nice bench across from the grave, placed by Al Packer Chapter 100, so visitors can sit and contemplate cannibalism, I guess. So this is the final resting place of America's favorite cannibal. While I'm here, I'll take a look around the Littleton Cemetery. It looks to be a fairly old one. Here is a veterans mound. These men served in the World Wars, and some of them did die. That's a neat statue. The Denver skyline can be seen in the distance. Now it is time to head up a mountain and visit the grave of another Wild West legend, one who didn't eat other people. I am now in Golden, Colorado, on top of Lookout Mountain, which peaks at nearly 7,400 feet. Here's a monument to Cement Bill William Williams, who planned the old highway that goes up here to this classic roadside attraction. Lookout Mountain is the burial site, or rather supposed burial site, of Colonel William F. Cody, better known as Buffalo Bill. The grave is at the end of this little trail. And this is the grave of Buffalo Bill Cody, who was a fascinating person. Definitely one of my favorites in the history of the West. He was born near LeClaire, Iowa in 1846. Then he was a Pony Express rider when he was a teenager. After that, he served in the Civil War and later as a scout during the Indian Wars. And then he became the Barnum of the West when he started Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show, a traveling circus themed on the Wild West that toured all across America and even in Europe during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. So Buffalo Bill was one of the most famous celebrities of his day. But on January 10th, 1917, he passed away from kidney failure while visiting here in Denver, Colorado. He was provided a large funeral, the largest in the state's history, and was buried here atop Lookout Mountain, where he supposedly at the last minute wanted to be buried. However, there is a rumor that the state of Colorado paid Cody's widow $10,000 to bury him here in Denver, where the city maintains the grave as a tourist attraction. Buffalo Bill's real hometown is Cody, Wyoming. It was widely believed that he'd want to be buried there, and even today in Cody they still claim he is buried there. There is a story that people from Cody switched out Buffalo Bill's body in the morgue here in Denver and then brought him back to Cody, where he is buried on a mountaintop there, at an unmarked grave. As much as I love Cody, Wyoming, I do believe this is the real grave and that he is buried here. He was apparently buried in an open casket, so someone probably would have noticed if it wasn't him. Anyways, it is really neat to visit the grave of the great Buffalo Bill. Whether Denverites conspired to capitalize on his grave or not, there does just happen to be a gift shop right next to Buffalo Bill's grave. It is called the Pahaska Teepee, named after Buffalo Bill's hunting lodge near Cody. There's also a buffalo outside. This is the Buffalo Bill Museum, which is also by the gravesite. Unfortunately, I do really have to keep a move on today, and this would take me a while. So I'm gonna have to make the hard call and skip this museum. But I did take a peek at the entrance, where there are some authentic painted Buffalo Bill Wild West Show posters. I really would like to see this museum, so I will definitely be returning. I will shout out both the Buffalo Bill Museum in LeClaire, Iowa, that I have an old video on, and the Buffalo Bill Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming, which is one of the best museums I've ever been to. There's the view out toward downtown Denver. It's definitely a bit hazy right now, so the skyscrapers can't be seen too well. Buffalo Bill certainly has some magnificent views up here. So those are the graves of two Wild West icons, for very different reasons, here in the Denver area. If you enjoyed this video, then please like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. I have filmed many other videos on famous graves, Wild West history, other roadside attractions, museums, national parks, and more all across the country. And thanks for watching.